To the podcast, hablemos de lo nuevo. For the G's, by the G's, que pasa en el terreno. Vienen jugadores y se van, traigan lo nuevo. A huevo. Doesn't matter where you from. Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua. Todo mi latino, come and listen for an hour. TikTok, que traemos lo que quiere. Todo lo que pasa dentro y fuera de las redes. Really? You don't know what it is. Reportamos con la lupa what we see at the digs. En las buenas y en las malas yo diré la verdad. Si cometen un error o tienen habilidad, la calidad del rival cuando viene a jugar. Facts. Yo no me muerdo la lengua. Got love for the crest in the city I came from. Los campeones de campeones y con copas mi race. No empezamos el programa, soy la voz de LA One. Soy la voz de LA One. Love. Yeah.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans out there, wherever you may be, and for all you MLS sickos, wherever you may be. Thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with us. Today, we're going to be reacting to the LA Galaxy's last game of preseason and of the Coachella Valley Invitational, a 1-0 defeat to the Chicago Fire that saw them dominate the match, but not be able to find the tying goal. We'll tell you how Marco Reus stayed in his first minutes of action this year, how Lucas Sanabria looked in his first start, and who the stand-up performers were for this game and of the CVI itself. We'll also take a look at the Galaxy depth chart and who could be in Greg Vanney's starting 11 with just 1 week left until LA plays its home opener against San Diego FC next weekend. Plus, we'll address any transfer rumors regarding Gabriel Peck, who is in fine form heading into the campaign. All of that and more on today's episode of La Cuna Galaxiana. But first and foremost, let me introduce myself. I'm one of your co-hosts today, Rob Halon. You can find my written work at the Sporting Tribune and at Extra Time Talk. You can also find me online at El Escudero de LA, just like my little tag says right there underneath my face. And of course, we want to say thank you once again to chat for being here with us. And since I'm here, you guys already know that my co-host is right next to me, as always, as usual, the ride or die, El Yerno Guapo, y El Gitano Perdido, Ananda Kirana, Papa, just 1 week away from the season opening. How are those butterflies, 1 to 10?
You mean 1 being no butterflies to 10 being muchísimo butterflies?
Muchísimo butterflies.
I'm at I'm probably closer to the 10 than the 5. I'll tell you that. Probably like a 6 or 7. A couple things that made me a little just question marks, right? Not criticisms or not overly worrisome or anything like that. Just question marks heading into the season. We're going to talk about a lot of that because I think we saw a lot of things in the CVI, Rob, these past couple weeks. We'll talk about our experiences there as well because I had a wonderful time at the CVI, just covering it, just being at that setting, right, with the mountains and the sunshine and all that stuff, the smell of freshly cut grass, right, all that good stuff. I mean, it was a joy to be there, but it's okay. I'm okay, and I think I know it's probably like super bland and probably nothing fancy, but I was like, that was my reaction. I was like, okay, like I think it's one of those things where it doesn't give me. At least the last performance didn't give me full of confidence hanging in the season, but it didn't give me nothing to pause and like be overly concerned about. I was like, okay, let's move on. Let's see what we can do in training. Let's see what lineup Greg puts out and the tactics that he puts out against San Diego. Again, San Diego's an unknown quantity. We're gonna hit San Diego in terms of scouting them and basically giving you guys what to expect because we haven't really seen him. I feel like we've caught maybe the last 10 minutes of that San Diego game, Rob, but they're already up 6-0, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
It was really it was really nothing
tactical you could take away from
that point. Nothing we could really take away. But that'll be on Thursday's show. But today we'll kind of get you guys like at least what Rob and I are thinking, our thoughts sort of heading into training this week and into the first game of the season. Can't believe it's here already, Papa. But anyways, yeah, one word match reaction. Okay. All right.
For me, it was frustrating. You were right next to me, and you heard me complain to you basically like the whole first half about what I was seeing.
That you did.
And guys, I feel bad for Ananda and for my wife, because when I start complaining about stuff, I mean, I just get really bitchy. And anyway, this guy had to hear me, but it was because I mean, I was seeing things that, I mean, later Greg addressed. And so, like, I mean, that's always when you feel good, when you're like, oh man, I'm seeing this, and then, you know, coach kind of validates it. But yeah, we'll get to all of that. I'll let you guys know exactly what had me you know, so flustered and just so kind of like antsy. But yeah, before we get there, like we said, thank you for being with us here tonight. It's season 3, and it's about to be the regular season. So yeah, it's all systems go. And thanks to all you guys that have helped us get to 465 plus subscribers. I don't know what it is right now. Last time I checked, it was like 465. But yeah, we're on the march to 500. We have a week to get there, guys. So if you know anybody that's in need of a Galaxy podcast, put them on to this one for sure. And you know, as always, if you're here, hit those likes. We would love it forever. And then you can always go ahead and help us out by contributing to the Horchata Fund. That's buymeacoffee.com/Lacuna Galaxiana. And yeah, man, I mean, we're going to be talking a lot about the CVI tonight. So, and our impressions on that and everything. But, you know, really, I love the event. You know, there's every year that I've seen it go, it's or happen, it's gotten a little bit better and a little bit better. You know, so I really enjoy the tournament or invitational, and I hope, you know, like they keep it going for a couple of years. I mean, the access is unprecedented. You know, while we're on the subject of the CVI, you know, shout out to all the folks that we saw, you know, Lars and Galaxians comments, IE Empire, you know, AC Beers out there, man. I mean, shout out to the homie off a sick one, who, you know, had a great jersey. I
That was clean.
Yeah, I spotted this one from far away, and I just absolutely loved it. And then these little G's as well that we ran into. If you guys are like, oh man, you're picturing kids, like I asked the pops for permission. So anyway, you know, these little G's were out there, and they got the gamut of signatures, and so, you know, they did the work, they got the prizes, right? So glad to see these kids out there. This is Lacuna as you can get right there. And yeah, so I mean, we saw XPH, or I saw XPH as well, so I got to meet him, and you know, the great XPH, congratulations, you know, for this picture right here of those galanes that we're all providing for you guys. But yeah, all the other G's that came up and said hello, you know, it was awesome, and that we got to meet you. Shout out to Edgar Nags, who we ended the day seeing. You know, so yeah, man, it was a really good event. What did you think about this whole little, you know, like the social aspect away from the football?
Yeah, just it was amazing, like unprecedented access, right? Getting to see everyone, just getting to hang out, say what's up, have a casual conversation. Like I said, it's the perfect setting for everything. And even, you know, a lot of the LA Galaxy front office, Tom Braun, Will Kuntz, I'm pretty sure I saw Mikel Denter as well. Joe Tutino was walking around, you know, Galaxy Comms team, etc. Shout out to Galaxy Comms, by the way, again, for just allowing me to cover the event with my co-host here and being part of the group there. So that was fun as well. But yeah, just unprecedented access. Like I said, the social part's super fun. It was nice to see everyone there just enjoying the sun and, you know, getting ready for the new season, man.
And after the event, we had a couple good eats, and you know what, I got to throw this one back over to you, man, because you said that you were going to you know, show them love.
Yeah, well, shout out to the Baja Shrimp Truck who fed us for the day, because Rob and I, we were getting out there kind of late, had to go back home. And we're like, all right, man, we got to use these little vouchers. Here's little tickets. Let's scope out what's going on. And man, they had these loaded. We had some loaded shrimp and steak fries, as you can see there on the screen. Woo, fire! So shout out to the Baja Shrimp Taco.
Yeah,
if you guys
they
want to
did their
follow
thing.
them, I told them, look, if these are bomb, I'm gonna give you guys a shout out. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm fulfilling my promise.
La
And
propaganda.
You guys can follow them at the _Baja_shrimp. Looks like they do a lot of fun events and stuff like that. So shout out to you guys, man, for feeding us.
Visit Baja Shrimp, lo mejor de mariscos and seafood. Yeah, no, that was bomb, man. I really enjoyed that meal for sure. I mean, we were super hungry and it hit the spot. So thank you to those guys. You know, one of the things we talk about all the time with this event is just the amount of players you see walking around from all kinds of different teams. And then if you're a Galaxy fan, it's the event you go to get all your signatures, man. You're just right there up live in person. And we had the opportunity a couple of times to talk to Diego, you know, just about life, you know, and about everything else. And so, you know, shout out to Diego. Thank you for being so fresh, man. And Mike Gray, aka Miggy's friend of the show, and Diego were showing off each other's tattoos and sharing tattoo stories. And so he shared with us that this one is his new one that he's working on. He said it's not done, but he's got a little crest going on behind that, I believe, soon. So yep, he now has that championship trophy MLS Cup on him. And yeah, man, like I said, shout out to Diego. But yeah, I mean, the CVI is over now, and we are less than a week away from the home opener on Sunday, February 23rd against San Diego FC. And of course, that will be the first match that is televised as part of the new Sunday Night Soccer series on Apple TV, which is now the featured match of the week. So go ahead and catch that first one. If you're not at the digs, definitely be catching it there on Apple TV on Sunday Night Soccer. And then, of course, we'll bring you a preview of this match on Thursday night with journalist and color analyst for the San Diego Sockers, Tony Sanchez, who is the co-founder of San Diego Football and hosts of Two Balls and a Mic. These guys have been covering San Diego FC since its inception, and he'll be here to tell us all about the team, all about this MLS franchise, and soon-to-be California rival. So definitely go ahead and catch it. There's a lot about this team we don't know, and so that's why it's going to be great to have Tony on here to give us a little bit of context here. And now you guys are going to see me get salty again real quick.
Oh, but before I get salty, time out. So guys, really quick, because Rob forgot to tee me up. In case you guys just popped in the chat or fast forward to the first 10 minutes, because we talk gobbledygook anyways for the first like 10 minutes of the show, you guys can always follow us at Lacuna Galaxiana on all your handles. You can always follow me and Rob. Our social handles are right there if you're watching this on YouTube. And of course, papá, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, porque tú has olvidado.
Dime.
Buenos días, tardes o noches y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de Lacuna Galaxiana. Ahora sí, podemos seguir.
Okay, bueno, ahora sí, y perdón por olvidarme, soy olvidadizo, you know, it happens to us when we get up there in age. So yeah, I gotta be salty again, I gotta be petty again for a quick sec, and I know that my good friend Ricky Pooch, and I said my good friend because you know I know for sure that this is his favorite pod ever in life. You know, I know he's going to be kind of salty about this as well. The MLS expert predictions have now come out, and these are the expert predictions as given by the Apple TV and MLS analysts on MLS.com. And once again, none of these cats are showing the Galaxy like any love. The only love they're getting is in the predictions for the Western Conference, where they're putting the Galaxy third. But other than that, no one's picked them for this Porter Shield. No one's picked them to repeat as MLS Cup champions. No one's picked them for Golden Boot winner. No one's picked them to have the MVP. I mean, it's almost like Gabriel Pecci doesn't exist, right? I don't know if they've seen that man, but anyway, like I said, this is one of these things that, you know, when the Galaxy, knock on wood, they go on a tear and they're you know, in the playoffs and they're doing their thing, they can point back to and go, really, guys, again, you guys slept on us again. But yeah, there's like no Galaxy presence in the top predictions, not for newcomer of the year as well, which Gabriel Peck won last year, or young player of the year. So I don't know, Ananda, do you think that do you think the disrespect is real? Do you think I have a reason to be petty, or, you know, this is realistic, quote unquote?
Well, hold on. So when we were doing predictions, did you pick the Galaxy winning MLS Cup?
Last year?
No, this year. The coming into this year.
No. I said that they probably wouldn't repeat based on everything, but no, I said that they would be probably up there.
And you picking them for Supporter Shield?
No.
For me, that's why I'm not mad. I'm not even salty about this because this is what I expected. Honestly, this is I'm not gonna change my tune now. Like that, this is what I said. Like, I mean, the fact that they're giving us third place in the West, like that's about right. I actually had them a bit lower, right, fighting for top four. And look, Gabriel Peck for Golden Boot without the service this year, especially in the beginning parts of the season. I don't know, man. He didn't remember. Well, okay, he scored a tap in, which really should have been Miguel Berry's goal in preseason. But other than that, he didn't score a goal, right, in preseason. So look, I am not salty at this. I think this is super realistic. I think this is super fair. And I think it's consistent with, well, I'm going to speak for myself on what I've been saying heading into the season, right? It's going to be a tough season just based off of the I guess the holes in the squad and through injury mostly, right?
Yeah, well, it directly flies in the face of what our compatriots Tommy Boger and Fabio Renkel believe as well. We've had them on the past. Well, not Tommy, but we saw him at the Corner of the Galaxy live show, and these cats seem to believe that the Galaxy are going to be in first or second place in the West, if not challenging for the Supporter Shield. So I don't know. I just found it funny that like absolutely no one picked the Galaxy to repeat, and there's folks that seem to think that it might happen, especially when you get Ricky Puig back in the business part of the season, and that's literally like a new signing. So no matter what problems you have up to that point, as long as you're within a whisker shot and you get into the playoffs and you get hot, we already know anything could happen, right? So that's kind of why I'm petty about it, because they missed the mark tremendously last year, and not a one picks them. You're right, I didn't pick them either, but not a one of these cats. So anyway, that's why I'm salty about this. But picking up on my saltiness factor, this one, I started off salty on this, but then I really sat down to think about everything. But if you guys aren't privy, the first leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup match between Sporting Kansas City and Inter Miami has been postponed due to adverse weather conditions in the Kansas City area. Snow is expected when this match was supposed to happen, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. Temperatures are going to be around 4 degrees. And so this match has now been rescheduled for Wednesday, February 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So like I said, I started off salty on this one and then kind of thought about it. I also reached out to El Parce, Annie Diosa, and we had a chat about it on X. But it's the optics started off really bad because yesterday Miami coach Javier Mascherano was in a press conference and pretty much came out and said that they were hoping that this match was going to be postponed. There was also reports by Franco Panizo, who's the founder and co-host of Inter Miami podcast, Miami Total Football, who broke that Messi didn't really want to play in the match because it was too cold. And the way he was making it sound was that like, no, Messi doesn't want to play. Mascherano gives his press conference. He says that they're trying to get it postponed. So again, the optics here aren't great, especially in light of a quote that Luis Suarez has about Leo that says that he told me that he suffers a lot from playing in the cold and the snow. But like I said, I came around because ultimately it is a player safety issue. 4 degrees is kind of hellish. I can see why people might be upset. Chad, don't cancel me for this one. LAFC played a snow game. They complained about it a lot, but they played it, they got through it, and then eventually they got over it. So they might have a legitimate gripe. And again, the optics aren't great here, but it is what it is. It's a player safety issue, right? So do you think they did the right thing here, Nanda?
Yeah, probably. I mean, just with the comments and stuff, you're right, the optics aren't great, but yeah, let's just roll on with it, man. I think Yeah, like I said, I think it is probably the right thing to do, but given the context, but whatever. Miami, who cares, right? This is a Galaxy show, man. Who cares?
Yeah. Hey, we're bringing the news, and there's a lot of stuff in here that is going to affect the Galaxy, right? Maybe not directly, but indirectly, just like this next one, because Evander to Cincy is now official, and this one is going to cause a chain reaction of different things, and it already has, really. So the news broke today that Portland sold Evander to Cincinnati for the new Ram trade record, which is real actual money that they're calling it Ram, for the transfer record of 12 million guaranteed and up to another 150K in incentives. Portland also retains a future sell-on and trade percentage in Evander, who signed a new designated player contract with Cincinnati through 2027 with an option of 2028. Laurel Failer reports that Evander waived the 10% fee he would have received as a bonus to the trade, and that's why Cincy just basically re-upped him on a new contract. You bet your bottom dollar that he probably got a very nice raise there. So now Evander is part of the attack that includes Denke and Luca Oriano, and that attack is going to be pretty hefty to deal with. So people saying that Inter Miami is going to just run away with everything. Now they have to go through Cincy with the new look attack. Of course, Cincinnati was replacing Lucho Acosta, who was traded to FC Dallas last week for a then record 5 million Ram plus incentives. And then since Portland lost out on Evander, they had to replace. So in a corresponding move, Portland then acquires David Da Costa from French League side RC Lens for a reported 6 million. So the Portugal Youth International is a DP for the Timbers. So yeah, there's a kind of musical chairs there. So Evander now in Cincy, Lucho Acosta now in Dallas, David Acosta in Portland. So Portland, a direct Western Conference rival. Dallas gets a really important piece there to help them get a little bit more competitive. So yeah, like I said, it directly affects the Galaxy, not the Cincy because it's indirect. But if the Galaxy do make it that far, they might have to see a Cincy in MLS Cup next year. So, and then I know this one that Ananda's been waiting on for sure. The new Major League Soccer documentary Onside drops on Friday, 2/21, and it looks like all episodes will drop that same day. Episode 1 is titled Back to Glory, and it's the tagline on this one is amid Messi mania, Miami and the LA Galaxy gear up for a huge early season test. Ricky Puig opens up about the pressures of superstar expectations. If you were one of the lucky ones who was at this event, there was 2 sneak peek screenings at Braindead Studios on Sunday, 2/16. There was a Q&A with Kobe Jones, Joe Tutino, and Will Kuntz. So if you were there screening that, you also got to get your Galaxy questions answered by these guys. And then shout out to Will Kuntz and the homie in front of the show, Arquitecto Verbal, who ran into each other. And we were tagged by Arquitecto in this post that said, when the chef says, wait, you're Arquitecto Verbal, the guy who did the intro for La Cuna Galaxiana. That's freaking awesome. That's freaking awesome, man. That Will knows, the show and knows the music and stuff like that, but just like, he looks like more stoked about taking the photo with Arquitecto than Arquitecto does than taking the photo with Will. And you know what? Like when Arquitecto blows up and he gives us VIP passes for one of his concerts, that's how we're gonna look too. But now that was really awesome, man. Shout out to Arquitecto for meeting Will. There was also a picture with him and Joe. Reminder, if Will Kuntz is a fan, then you guys should be a fan too. Arquitecto does have a vinyl out right now. He's taking pre-orders for, so go ahead and check out his socials so you guys can go ahead and pre-order that. It's typically fire. you guys know what it is, so go ahead and pick that one up. And we mentioned Ricky Puig a moment ago about the pressures of being a superstar. Well, it looks like he's on his way back home to Los Angeles, and he published a couple. Well, he published an Instagram post that said "Home, LA, California." So as far as we know, it's his first time back after MLS Cup when he left with his family to get treatment. So welcome back home, Ricky. I hope you have that speedy recovery and you get that strength that you need, man. Mateus Nascimento watch. He still he was at the CVI. We saw him live in the flesh, but he did not play. Apparently, his hasn't been announced yet. It's not official yet, so we're not sure if this is visa issues or whatnot. But he is there. It does look like it's going to happen, just not at the CVI. And one of the moments that we loved was when we had official confirmation through the homie Mike Gray. In that photo that he took, he had Gabriel Peck in there. Obviously, the two Brazilians were speaking with each other. But recently, it has broken that there's a slew of teams after his signature, the 2024 MLS Newcomer of the Year. The first one that broke was the first one that broke was Palmeiras, and we'll talk about that one in a second. But the second one that broke was Atletico de Madrid, who there was a rumor that said they had offered 18 million. Per Josh, the podfather from Corner of the Galaxy, he reached out to sources and he says that there's nothing there. So we're going to believe the podfather. There's nothing there to that Atletico de Madrid rumor. However, there does seem to be something to this Palmeiras rumor. Palmeiras apparently has been interested in Gabriel Pecky for a little bit, since before he came to the Galaxy and MLS. His agent, Carlos Siete, apparently has a really good relationship with Palmeiras and recently took one of his other clients, Paulinho, there. There are reports of a Premier League team as well asking about his services. Those same reports say that the Galaxy is willing to listen to offers in about the $20 million range. Of course, these reports are unsubstantiated. Hopefully when we get to see the team this Friday at media availability, we get a little more context on this. But Ananda, it got me thinking. It's certainly within the realm of possibility that teams are asking. That's no questions asked. But the report was that they're willing to listen to offers in about $20 million range. Is that a fair price tag for Gabriel Peck? And chat, go ahead and let us know what you think as well. Let us know if you think 20 million is enough for Gabriel Pecky, or it should be a higher price tag, and why. Ananda, what do you think? Is 20 million enough?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his transfer value on Transfermarkt right now. It's 12 million euros, which is about $12 million, and 20 million. That's already close to one of the higher transfer fees in MLS, right? So, or transfer fees out. So, I mean, look, only after one good season in a league like MLS for 20 mil. I mean, look, I think fair is 20 to 25 mil. So yeah, I think it's for the best interest of the Galaxy to listen to offers in that range. I mean, I would be too, right? Then of course, then the question is, does the player want to leave and all that stuff? That's a different conversation. My gut tells me that nothing's going to happen, at least for the first 6 months. Maybe something to revisit in the summer, depending on how the team does. But I think after this year, it's definitely this winter, after this 2025 MLS season, I think it's a definite possibility for sure.
Well, you lose a player like Gabriel Pecky, who contributed massively to the team last year. You're going to have to replace him, right? So obviously there's already rumors about who his replacement could be. And Marcaj News broke the rumor that Crepin Diarra, who's a 25-year-old winger who plays for AS Monaco at the moment, could be that replacement. He is a full Senegalese international. However, he's not really getting a lot of playing time in Monaco. He's only played 280 minutes this season, hasn't made even the subs bench a couple of times, and when he does make the bench, he's used very, very sparingly. Well, it looks like the Galaxy could be looking at him as a potential replacement for Peck should he go to Palmeiras or any one of these other teams that are asking about him. Diarra's contract with Monaco expires this summer, so it's lining up like it could be a good deal for the Galaxy. we spoke about optics earlier, so the optics don't look good on this one, because in 10 matches in 2024, like we said, he hasn't really played a lot, but no goals, no assists. In 2023-24, he played 26 matches with 2 assists and no goals. His best year was in 22-23 when he played 31 matches, had 4 goals and 2 assists. He did have a heavy left knee ACL injury in 2021. I'm gonna try. I mean, if this one is true, and Wilkins and his team are scouting him, I'm gonna trust Wilkins and his team, because they haven't missed, like you said, a bunch of times, and they haven't missed. So anyway, but just based on I know you probably haven't had a chance to get down the rabbit hole and do the stats like you usually like to do with these players, but just on face value, is this the kind of profile that you think the Galaxy should be going after?
Yeah, like I said, I haven't done any scouting, so probably not one for me, and probably one for Will Kuntz and his team, right? But I mean, look, if you're finding a Peck replacement, I mean, I would go back to the South American League. You've had success there. Why not go back? There's a ton of talented young wingers. I mean, clearly we're going to see what the forward striking department or scouting department is like given Nacimiento, right? We'll see how he develops over the season. But yeah, I think you just go back into that market. But look, I'm sure Will Kuntz has his scouts placed everywhere. He's got an eye on everything, an eagle eye on everything. And but yeah, like I said, let's enjoy what we have right now. And I want to bring up, this is a good comment here from Zippers. 20 million is a huge return on investment after 1 year. That's what I was saying earlier. He's a risk for a top flight league, but might fit best into La Liga. Yeah, I think he'd kill it in a technical, maybe slightly slower pace than the Premier League, like a La Liga. Serie A is probably too tactical for him. So yeah, probably La Liga. Portuguese league is another good one as well. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, it's really 10 million, which is the return, because you pay. I mean, the Galaxy pay 10 million for him, right? So.
Oh yeah. No, but he's just saying 20 million as a number is already a sick return on investment. As you said, that's almost double your investment.
Right. So yeah, the return on that investment would be 10 million. So which is good. Like you said, it's 100%. So yeah, I mean, that is a come up. I personally think that Gabby Peck balls out in the first 6 months, and that transfer value goes up even higher. But who knows? I mean, money talks, right? So if one of these teams comes in with, like, hey, cash money right now, let's go. It might be buy. And the one and only Rocio says, my heart can't take any more loss this season. I think we might see a little more loss before that happens. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this match. Anana, this was the Galaxy's only loss of the Coachella Valley Invitational. They did lose their first preseason match against NYCFC 2-0, but at the CVI they were perfect until they came up against Greg Berhalter and his boys. They fell 1-0 to Chicago on Saturday. And in the 4 matches then in the CVI, they hold a record of 1-1-2. Of course, the first match was a 1-1 draw between the Galaxy and Austin FC that got really, really chippy. And then that was followed by LA versus Charlotte, which ended in a 2-2 draw, and then they earned a 2-1 victory over Minnesota United in their third match. Tucker Lepley, of course, scored that brace in the Minnesota match, and Maya Yoshida, Miguel Berry, and Gabby Peck also picked up goals in the CVI. Let's go ahead and check out this lineup here. What do you think about the starting lineup?
Pulling it up right now. I mean, look, I think this is going to be the starting lineup and on Sunday, Rob. I think this is our strongest lineup. I think Greg's showing all his cards here in the last CVI preseason game of the preseason. And yeah, I think this is the strongest lineup. I don't see, the only other change that I could see is, well, two positions, which is, one is goalkeeper, which we'll talk about later, because that's a really, really interesting one. And of course, we got to ask Greg a question post-match about that goalkeeper battle. And then the only other one I could see is maybe Winder, because Sanabria is still betting into this team, but you don't pay a guy $5 million just to have him maybe bet in. So I'm not sure. I like I said, my instinct tells me this is going to be the starting team, but who knows? Greg can pull out some surprises. So that was my initial reaction when I saw the starting line. I was like, yep, this is our strongest lineup for sure.
No, you make a fair point though, because you don't pay a guy that much money and then just have him bet in. But they did the same thing with Peck last year. Peck arrived really late, right after the CVI was done, and he saw a couple minutes in the first game, and then they kind of brought him on gradually. And in light of what Greg told us a little bit later, I think that maybe what Greg chooses to do. I don't think you're too far off with that the window for Sanabria. I mean, it could go either way, but yeah, we'll talk about it. You're right. Yeah.
I was gonna say really quick. I think this is an interesting point, and maybe we'll hit on aspects of this throughout the show. And you guys in chat definitely go ahead and answer Ant's question. But he says, "What's everybody's opinion on our current roster? I keep seeing people have a very low rating on the team. I still think we got better on paper. Ricky out is huge, but IDK, I'm still up on them. I mean, MLS pundits, like we said earlier, they had him in third in the Western Conference, so they're still pretty high on the Galaxy. I'm not sure about the low rating, at least on the pundit side. But look, for once, it's definitely different, right? So I'm not too high on it. I'm not too low on it. I think I just need to see more. I can't really give I can only react to what I'm seeing. And right now, we're not a well-oiled machine like we were last year. I mean, on paper, it's still a pretty strong roster, but it's not the same as last year, right? I don't think I can comfortably say that. What do you think, Rob?
I would say no. Just because I haven't, and it's a no based on just because we don't know what these players are going to look like at their top, right? I mean, Lucas Sanabria is really highly rated in Uruguay. However, we haven't seen the best of him yet with the Galaxy because he just hasn't had the time. Fagundes has been on the wing, where he's been great, and we've talked about his form all year. But personally, I think he would be better at the 10. Let's face it, I don't think you're going to get 90 minutes out of Marco Reus every single weekend, and plus with games during midweek. So but that gives you the headache of who do you throw on the wing, right? So there's a couple of things to play with here. Greg did say that they were going to do some fun things with Gabby Peck this year. And it's funny enough because he did say in the first 6 months, he did preface in the first 6 months. So, and at the time I was like, oh, maybe he means until Ricky gets back for 6 months, right? But now, in light of all the transfer speculation, it could be before he goes in that window. But no, there's a couple things that there's a couple places that I feel like they've gotten stronger. Like, for example, I mean, I based on the stats that that we've shared here, I do think that Micovic is an improvement on the goalkeeper position. No shade to John McCarthy, who did bring you an MLS Cup, Galaxy fans. I think the defense is pretty much the same, right? So there's really nothing to talk about there. I think the midfield is unproven, but just on paper, the skill set and the youth has me jazzed. Of course, you lose the experience from Brugman and Mark Delgado, but I would say that's like a push. Up front, it remains to be seen. I think Dayon proved himself this year. It remains to be seen what Christian Ramirez can do. Like I said, I think he'll get his chances, but will we put him away? So and right now with the injury to Joseph Payne, so I think the wings are a little bit weaker, but that's just through injury. So all in all, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, I know we want to talk about a few things when we wrap up, sort of what we like, high level thoughts from the CVI as a whole, right, heading to the season. So yeah, we'll explore that a little bit more. But that's a fair assessment for sure.
Well, guys, this one only had one goal in it. The Galaxy give away a ball in their defensive end, and after Chicago picks this one up, Tom Barlow feeds Brian Gutierrez, who takes the curling shot and he beats Micovic for the game's only goal. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, in my one-word match reaction, this was a little frustrating because the Galaxy did have chances. They did control the game. They did control large sections of the game. They had a shot in the first 17 minutes, I believe. I think Mickey Yamane goes ahead and rattles crossbar. Elijah Winder has a one-on-one as well that he doesn't put away. So they did have their chances, but this all comes through what Greg was talking about to us, about that the team is a little bit disconnected, and it's because they have players like Lucas Sanabria that are still basically learning on the job. So, Ananda, this is one of the we said that we would reveal to listeners what had me so antsy or so bitchy earlier, and it's precisely the fact that I kept seeing Lucas be a little lost out there. And again, he's a good midfielder. He just needs the time. But I could tell that there was moments during the key phases and key build-ups that he didn't know really where he was supposed to be. He seemed a little bit disconnected. But my main complaint was that he wasn't getting on the ball enough. And you said that's, for me, that's a good thing. And so and you even said, well, we'll talk about it on the pod. So for you, why was it a good thing that he wasn't getting on the ball?
I mean, look, if you're asking a guy, a young guy, to step into that midfield and sort of, be the Ricky or be dominant on the ball, I think that's probably a testament to maybe how deficient that midfield is, right? Like, this is a guy that's just betting into the team. He's a connector. I mean, we read in the scouting reports as well, right? So him playing the simple pass, he doesn't need to get on the ball all the time. It's just a matter of spatial awareness, maybe creating space for others. And here's the other thing too, Rob, and I think maybe try this like next time, because I used to get into this habit, but when I start watching games with my eye test personally, I tend to do this, which is we tend to overreact a little bit as fans or as journalists or as people, having a close eagle eye at games to sort of, I guess, parse out one or two moments that you think like, that's a mistake, or, there's something there. And then you tend to kind of miss, some other bright moments or maybe some other things that you notice because you have that predisposition in your head, like, he's already made a couple of mistakes, so I'm going to be watching out more for the mistakes rather than the positives, right? In fact, if I rewind back the tape, he made actually a couple of really, really good tackles towards the end of that first half, winning the ball high up the pitch.
No, there were positives. No, I agree.
Creating an offensive chance for sure. So like I said,
when he got to the end line towards the end of his shift, right? He got to the end line and he
it was like in the middle. It was like in the middle, maybe 30th something minute. Again, he won the ball back high. And that was after a failed recycle between the three of them on the right hand side. That's another thing too, man. He's got to build up that chemistry between Mickey Yamane, who tends to go outside, inside, right? We've seen that a lot, and Gabi Peck, of course. So I don't expect him to get on the ball, call for it like Ricky does all the time. No one's going to be Ricky, but no. I think we just got to be patient and put into context. What is our expectation of this guy coming into the team? I don't really have high expectations other than be neat and tidy, be technically clean on the ball, and then choose and pick and choose your moments when you go up the pitch and when you go down. He said this about Winder too, or Greg did, which is, they're kind of thinking too much about this. They're being a little too mechanical. And as soon as the game flows a little bit better naturally, as soon as he builds those partnerships on the right-hand side, I think we'll see the best of Sanabria. And that's why I don't think you should be worried, man, in my opinion.
Well, did ask Greg a question about Mickey Yamane, and he kind of went not off on a tangent, because Greg always says stuff for a reason, but he shared one of the reasons that Mickey was, playing the way he was, and then he gave us some context about Lucas Sanabria. And like I said, it was kind of gratifying to hear Greg's comments on this. But he says, we were trying to be a little less fluid today just because it's Lucas's first real game with that group of players. So we were, in the first half, we were allowing some freedom of reading, and we were recognizing that the reading wasn't, he's not ready for all that just yet. It's a little bit unique and different. So we became a little bit more stagnant in terms of our setup, allowing Mickey to come inside and play a little bit more like a pivot. And it just meant that Lucas' decisions were a little more clear, and he wasn't having to read off so many things, which he's not going to get. He's going to pick up. It's just not something he's used to doing. So like you said, maybe my expectations were too high and for like his first game, right? But Greg says, basically, he was a little bit disconnected. He wasn't as fluid as he wanted him to be, but that's all going to come with time. But this all comes off a question I asked him about Mickey Yamane's form during the CVI. We've seen Mickey Yamane put in really good performances. Not only has been has he been really, really defensively sound, but he's kind of taken that mantle on of that inverted fullback where he's going to get into the midfield, and he's been picking that ball up a little bit deep. And I asked Greg about this, and I believe Ananda has that clip.
It's something that Mickey can do. You know, we use Mickey in a lot of different ways. He's kind of a joker type player that we can positionally put him into different spots depending on what we want to do, and that can be fluid inside the game. We were trying to be a little less fluid today just because it's Lucas's first real game with that group of players. So we were, in the first half, we were allowing some freedom of reading, and we were recognizing that the reading it's not ready for all of that just yet. It's a little bit unique and different. So we became a little bit more stagnant in terms of our setup, allowing Mickey to come inside and play a little more like a pivot, and it meant that Lucas's decisions were a little more clear, and he wasn't having to read off of so many things, which he's going to get and he's going to pick up. It's just not something he's used to doing. But Mickey is like, we can play Mickey wide, we can play Mickey inside, we can put him in a high attacking position, we can use him in a 3 and a build. So he's a guy that, you know, that we like to use him in different ways because that's one of his unique qualities, and it makes it difficult for the opposition sometimes to figure out how they're going to deal with a guy like that and where he's going to show up. So we were doing a little bit of that, but it was also with in mind that we have a couple new players out there that maybe aren't as used to all the movements that everybody is a little more accustomed to.
Well, el profe Alex Ruiz tweeted that he believes that Mickey Yamane has been the best player for the Galaxy in preseason. Chat, go ahead and let us know who you think has been the Galaxy's best player during preseason. We would love to know. Agree with Prof. Alex's assessment? Mickey Yamane best player?
He's one of them. I will say my other one when we get to that segment later on. He's definitely one of them, though. He is. I think we underestimate how technically gifted actually Mickey Yamane is, especially as a right back, Rob. Very, very comfortable on the ball. You don't notice it because they don't show up in the highlight reels or in the highlight packages that the Apple TV puts together. But if you rewatch some of those games, man, some of his flicks, you know, taking the ball back and doing those drag backs, pirouetting off of the touchline. I mean, he's very, very technically gifted. I think we're going to see a lot more of him play a key role, especially in the build-up, I think, this year with the absence of Ricky in that midfield.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I agree. I think he's criminally underrated technically. I mean, imagine if he had scored that goal in MLS Cup, that one that rattled off the crossbar. I mean, that probably would have been the highlight of the game, right? I mean, just the way he took the ball and then he played it off and he received it again. And man, that cannon that he unleashed, it would have been a class goal. Of course, it would have made that game 3-1.
I mean, you remember that setup? I think it was the John Nelson cracker, but that was set up by Yamane through the guy's legs, completely, you know, completely went through the right side of the defense, and you saw in wide open John Nelson. I mean, that's class, right? And that's Mickey Yamane all day. And by the way, he's also, from what I've seen, and you probably interact with him more than I have, but just seems like a spectacular human being. Just really, really good guy.
Yeah, he seems like one of those. I mean, we haven't interacted a lot just because there's a language barrier, but
sure.
There's, you know, he seems like just an up and jovial human being. I mean, we at a post match or a post practice press conference one day, they asked him to go ahead and come and give his thoughts, and I mean, he tried his damnedest, and you know, we tried our damnedest to go ahead and converse with them, but you know, being that there's a language barrier, like, he doesn't have to do stuff like that, you know. Like, I mean, there's Galaxy players that were on the team that wouldn't speak to the English press, and then later we found out that they spoke English. So, you know, like I said, Mickey Yamane doesn't have to do stuff like that, and he does. You just see that kind of that kind of like good heart, you know. So but the one thing that you said a little bit earlier that we would get back to, it's Chisme time now. Who will be between the sticks on Sunday for the LA Galaxy? Will it be Micovic, who the Galaxy have used a lot during the CVI, or will it be MLS Cup winning goalkeeper John McCarthy. Guys, who do you think it'll be, Micovic or McCarthy? Go ahead and let us know. But Ananda, who had press access for this match, asked Greg a really good question. So everybody, go ahead and give it up for my co-host for asking a really good question here. And
I learned
Greg,
from the best, Papa. I learned from the best.
I mean, you got to tell me who you're learning from. I want to learn from them too. So yeah, the Podfather probably. So
all Josh.
So anyway, Ananda asked this really good question, and I got to see Greg's eyes light up a little bit because he loves these tactical questions. So anyway, Ananda, roll the clip.
For us, it's looking at, based on our style of play and what we're asking of the position, it's looking at all the guys. And obviously, John was excellent last year and did the job in many regards. But it's just seeing as we start a new process and we're investing in each of these different roles on the field, it's looking at each of them and saying, okay, here's what we're expecting from our goalkeeper. This is the things that we need. Some of the things that I think we need is we gave up a lot of goals on set pieces. We could probably use our goalkeepers getting 5 more yards or 3 more yards and taking things out of the air so that it's not always that our defenders are having to win things in the air, but our keeper can secure some things in the air. Obviously, we ask a lot of our keepers in the build-out phase and the decisions that they're making with their feet, in addition to leadership and communication and all those kinds of things. So it's not an easy position to play for us when we ask, a lot from our goalkeeper. So it's just seeing in the process how each guy is going to take on those roles and grow into the position and help our team to continue to try to evolve and find the highest level that we can find. So it's certainly we've got guys that are capable of that. I think Novak is ready to be a starter. I think John has proven he can be a starter, and we know that JT has been a starter as well. So we got guys who certainly can fall. We're not short of goalkeepers who are capable. That's for sure.
So how do you interpret that, right? If you had to say Greg is waking up on Sunday, who do you think it is?
I mean, he said a lot, right? And it's interesting when you hear Greg's words. He really does expect a lot. He wasn't kidding. He really does expect a lot, and he does. His teams ask the goalkeepers to do quite a bit, right? He talked about decision making. He talked about the build out. He talked about being more commanding and being cleaner or better on crosses, right? So that defenders don't have to get to him and the goalie can clean it up. He talked about leadership, communicate. There's so many things, right? So.
Right.
I think he gave a very well calculated answer, and I think he's going to see how the goalkeepers respond during training. But from a minutes, if we're going to read by the minutes, I mean, it's been Micovic, right? And by the way, John McCarthy did not sub him in this game. He played in the full 90 minutes, right? And we didn't see any of JT. So, look, I think
John didn't even dress.
Well, exactly. He was still in his training gear. So read into that what you want. I will read into that as Micovic is the number one guy, and he's been playing with the quote unquote first team, right? And it's going to be interesting though on if he is the guy. It's going to be interesting to see on some of those key factors like leadership, communication. The crosses, by the way, I think Micovic, I called it out. I think it happened in the first maybe 10 minutes of the game. I was like, oh, really, really nice dive for Micovic. There was a cross on our side. I think we were right there on that side, and he cut out the cross really beautifully on the ground. So I think he is very good at that. But leadership, communication, those soft skills, those are the things that John McCarthy is really strong on. And it'll be interesting to see if Micovic has it from the beginning of the season, if he's going to grow into all those things that Greg is talking about from a leadership and communication perspective. So fun one to watch, man, for sure. That's going to be a spicy one.
Well, it's like we're always talking about. Fortunately, you have 2 good goalkeepers, and they're battling it out with each other. They're pushing each other to be better, because they know if I mess up, then there's this other guy breathing down my neck, and he'll get the minutes, right? So that this can only be good for Galaxy fans, to have 2 good goalkeepers going at it and trying to get that number 1 spot. And then you throw in JT, who was a starter, like Greg said, and he's going to be trying to get his minutes as well. So, but I agree with you. Based on everything we've seen, based on Greg's comments, if I had to be a betting man, I'd probably say Micovic takes the starting spot on Sunday against San Diego. What was your moment of the match?
Oh, it's got to be that little sort of sequence. We didn't score on it. Again, there's no goals to talk about, right? So, but it should have been a goal. It was basically when Mickey hit the crossbar, but it was the sequence that led up to it. Just a beautiful sequence on the left-hand side between John, Marco, and then I think it was Sanabria did the dummy so that Yamane could hit. Unfortunately, rattled the crossbar. So that was beautiful. That was like early on in the game. I was like, wow, we're really flowing, especially on that left-hand side with Marco.
So the CVI wraps up. Galaxy play 4 games in this invitational. Who do you think's stock went up the highest based on their performances in the CVI?
Ooh, stock up the highest. Chat, by the way, go ahead and put your thoughts in there as well. I know Rob and I are going to ask questions of each other, but you guys go ahead and put that in the chat as well. But stock, I have a couple of guys, and I think you're going to go with this other guy. So I'm gonna go with my second option, which is Diego Fagundes, man. Look, this is 2 straight preseasons now that this guy looks ready. He looks hungry. He looks super fit as well, almost like midseason form. I mean, he's running back for tackles. His work rate is really, really immense. I think the one thing that I want to see a little bit more of is that added chemistry, especially with his number 9. I think him and Christian Ramirez are still a little bit out of sync, maybe in some of the build-up moments, but I think that grows over time, right? Especially when you have a new teammate on that number 9 position. But no, man, Diego, he's going to have a big role to play, especially in these first 6 to 8 weeks, right? While JP is out. But you know, he is a guy that he's a consummate veteran. And from where he was last at the end of last year, which he was a bit part player, right? He only played sparing minutes, especially in the MLS Cup run, to now being, I mean, we need him to play close to 90 in the first couple of months, Rob. So he's going to be a big player. And I think he did himself a world of good in the CVI for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it a lot. He looks great. I'm gonna call it the fullbacks. I mean, Matthew says John Nelson is still balling. Yeah, I agree. And both fullbacks for me have been great. Like I said, the defense has not changed, and so that stability is going to be great for whichever of these goalkeepers, you know, is in net, right? So for me, John Nelson and Mickey Yamane. John Nelson just solidifying that position for himself even more. Mickey Yamane, like we mentioned, so underrated. I think people are going to start to see a little bit more of his capabilities and his skill set. Chat, tell us what you saw that filled you with the most optimism. Ananda, what do you think?
I think we mentioned it on the first couple of pods, first couple of reactions from the first couple of preseason games. And I think it's we're starting off at a better place this year than we were last year, Rob, meaning there's more continuity. Not all the players are coming back, but you know, most of the pieces are coming back. Although I would say key pieces are out. 2 of our DPs are going to be out, right? So that's a big loss. But you know, the continuity, the just knowing what to do, I guess, in terms of having a clear identity, having a clear system. And I think it's just about working the details out, meaning, you know, finishing the final actions, being more cleaner in the buildup, being a little bit better in transition still. You know, knowing how to remember, I always talked about this theme with Greg on his teams finding the ability to first team to find solutions, right? So I think Chicago is a really good test, by the way, because in the first half, we saw what the Galaxy were able to do building out of a high press. And in the second half, we were privy to the Galaxy, how they could break down a mid to low block. So I think that was good practice for us. And unfortunately, you know, from the high press, we did give up a sloppy goal. Again, unlucky by Yamane, I think, building out of the back. So, but again, I think we're starting off at a better place this season, and that probably fills me with the most optimism in that, you know, the system is there, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you're right. The Galaxy are starting off in a better place. They have more of a core there. But you know, I even wrote an article about this. You know, the system is really the star here. Everybody knows when everybody knows their role, when everybody's performing their role correctly, there shouldn't be that much drop off. I mean, the Galaxy were in the first couple of games, they were missing Marco Reus, Joseph Painstill. You know, they didn't have Christian Ramirez in yet, and they were still making chances, right? And it's because if everybody's playing Greg's system the correct way, it becomes predictable for your teammates, not for the other team, but your teammates who are where they need to be. You can receive the ball where you need to be, pass it where your teammate is, and Greg likes to say that these are time advantages, right? So if you have a time advantage, obviously those are going to lead to chances, and that's exactly what was happening. So for me, that's the biggest thing for me, is that like this team just needs to like kind of take into that next gear. But when they take into that next gear and they have all their jobs right, man, it's the system again is gonna be the star. So that, I mean, that's good coaching. I mean, for everybody that's like Vanney out, nah, man. I mean, this is Vanney system that's, or affectionately known as Vanney ball, which is carrying the day. Thing that you saw that worries you the most?
Yeah, I think I just mentioned it a second ago, but it's especially earlier on in the season, and this might sound like a surprise to some of you guys, but it's offensively, man, and it's not so much the buildup and us creating chances; it's us finishing off those chances, right? Christian Ramirez didn't have a goal in preseason. If you think about it, too, in the last 120 minutes, because I believe our starters came in, or quote unquote starters, right? Or first team came in at about the 60th minute mark against Minnesota, and we were held scoreless. And against Chicago, we were held scoreless. So, and a lot of that's just not finishing the final action. So, based on the fact that of how well Dejan Joveljic performed last year, is Christian Ramirez, is he going to pick up the slack at number 9 without JP? Are guys like Fagundes, Marco Reus going to pick up the slack, right? So that's the one thing, man. And it's surprising for a Galaxy team that scored well over 60 goals in the regular season, was pumping 5 and 6 past Colorado, right, in the playoffs. And so it's a surprise. But again, if you think about Rob, you think about who we had in the starting 11 last year against Miami: no Ricky, no JP, no Mark Delgado, right? No Dejan Joveljic. I mean, those are big pieces, man. And offensively, I think the other guys, it's going to be a tall order for them to pick up the slack. And nothing that I saw in the CVI. I mean, look, the 2 goals that we scored in that one game was Tucker Lepley, right? It wasn't necessarily from the starter. So I think offensively, I am a little bit worried. Again, not so much in the buildup. It's about finishing that final action. Are we going to, basically kill off teams or get that 1-2 goal advantage that we need, and for our defense to hold down the fort, right, for the rest of the game?
Yeah, and for me, speaking of defense, it's set pieces. The Galaxy gave up a couple set piece goals during the CVI, and we even talked about, if this was going to be the theme for the defense again. I don't think it'll last a long time, but last year it took them quite a bit to get it figured out until a couple games before the playoffs, and then they went into the playoffs and went on a tear defensively. But if you can't be giving up these soft goals or these set piece goals, I mean, you're giving the opposition too much, right? And if it is a 1-0 game and you give up a soft goal, you just lost 2 points. So for me, it's the set pieces. Knock on wood that shores up pretty quickly. Player that needs to step it up the most.
I think it's a pair for me, and it's to cover up the loss of Ricky and JP, which is Diego Fagundes and Marco Reus. People are probably asking, well, what about Christian Ramirez? Look, he's a new player on the team. I think it's unfair to put that type of pressure on him. Yes, he's a veteran, and he's probably going to do his thing, but I think it's unfair to put him in that sort of spotlight, right, and shine the light on him. Diego and Marco, they've been with the team long enough. Diego's a veteran. Marco is an absolute seasoned veteran, right, from Borussia Dortmund. So in his experience, and I think you're going to look at those 2 guys, right, to pick up the slack, to create those chances for Gabriel Peck. Because we're going to need difference makers in the final third. And, we saw a couple of glimpses of that, right, in the first 45 minutes. But if this team is going to score goals and get wins and not have, 1-1 or 0-0 draws in the beginning of the season, which, by the way, could happen. I could definitely see that happening in the first 5-6 games. We need those guys to click and be the difference makers.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But for me, it was maybe somebody that, should be starting and just hasn't been able to win a spot back. And I'm talking about El Argentino Julian Aude. We said at the beginning of the CVI that perhaps it was, his opportunity to go ahead and get a starting role back. And John Nelson's just been playing so lights out that it hasn't been possible for Aude. But not only that, but he got skinned a couple times in the first or second game. So he has he was a lot stronger for the rest of the tournament or invitational rather. But yeah, for me, it's Julian Aude. I mean, he's got to be able to give Greg a different option there. As we've said, he's definitely a more offensive type of back than John Nelson is. So like I said, he's just got to give Greg the headache of, dang, like, who do I go with? But for me, yeah, Julian Aude. So yeah, yeah. Do you think we'll see a lot of Marco Reus?
I think we're going to see at least 60, 70 minutes of him. He's going to have to play that role, at least in the beginning, and then, have Winder or, another midfielder deputized, right? Ruben Ramos is going to be on the bench as well. So yeah, I think Marco looked pretty good though. We saw him up close and personal. I think he looked pretty good. And I think 45 minutes was probably the right amount of minutes, but that doesn't mean he can't play 65, 70. I could see that for sure.
So you're thinking the pretty much the same starting 11 that we saw against Chicago will be the starting 11 against San Diego?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, that wraps up the CVI here. And to take us on home, we're going to go ahead and get you guys some announcements here in Galaxylandia. If you're Men and Blazers fans, there will be doing a live show at the Digs at the main stadium. They are doing a relive every moment of the history-making 2024 LA Galaxy season type show. Tickets are live now, and this one's for a good cause, guys. So all proceeds are going to be donated to the LAFD Foundation. Tickets are $30 for this. We spoke about Diego a lot on this show, and happy birthday to him. It was his birthday just a few days ago. I hope he had a wonderful one surrounded by friends and family. Of course, last year he played in 39 matches, 4 goals, 2 assists. This man is part of the 70-70 club, 73 goals and 76 assists in his career. He did tell me, though, that he wasn't really happy with the stats last year, so he looked for him to come out on a tear. And again, just awesome guy. Congrats to the U.S. youth national team, the U17s that qualified for the U17 World Cup. You had 2 Galaxy players there on that team, Owen Pratt and Kike Martinez. Congratulations to those guys. Congrats to Miss Yellow, who was honored by the city of Long Beach and the Long Beach mayor for her work, her mural work at El Dorado Park. If you guys have checked out any of Miss Yellow stuff, you know it is fire. Congratulations to her. Guys, we are still celebrating Black History Month here on the show, and we are highlighting one Comets SC card per episode, and today it is Giazzi Sardez. This guy is the pride of Hawthorne. He's like I mentioned, a native of Hawthorne, California, broke the record for most goals in a season by a homegrown player with 19 in 2014. 2014, and he's the first homegrown player to score in an MLS Cup final. Once a G, always a G. One of the good ones, man. I mean, he's like, I remember vividly him scoring that goal in the MLS Cup final in 2014, and just big emotions, big memories. Wherever Giazzi is, we're sending him a lot of love. LA Galaxy Kings Night is happening on Tuesday, March 11th. The Kings take on the Islanders. Go ahead and check out this match with your fellow Gs. Tickets start at $29. And the Gs Run LA will be having their first run of the season on Saturday, February 22nd at 10 a.m. at Absolution Brewing Company in Torrance. One of these days, we are going to get you out there, Ananda, and we're going to go ahead and hit this run with the Gs Run LA Club right here. Of course, this one's put on by the Nanos from 1-2, who are also doing who are also doing the next Blue, White, and Gold pop-up. That one goes down on March 2nd at Common Space Brewery from 12 to 5 p.m. This one is pet-friendly, all ages, free event. I mean, go ahead and get out there with the Galaxy community, guys. There will also be a watch party for the Gs away match versus Vancouver, so go ahead and check that out. Guys, we've been telling you, all the supporter groups, their memberships are open. ACB memberships are open. Galaxians memberships are open. Outlaws represent. Shout out Manny and their celebration. 6 years, they're open. LA Riot Squad memberships are open, and of course, they're doing that T-shirt with the Section 8 Chicago guys. This one is for for fundraising purposes for fellow Angelinos and their families who have been affected by the wildfires. Of course, they, like all the supporter groups, will be there on opening day. They're going to be having a tamborazo at their tailgate. So if you want to hear some drums, go ahead and get out there. And congrats to the homie White Mike, who is the new Lars Presi. Comets also has memberships open right now. Help Los Ñaños from Comets become an officially recognized supporter group. We want them to go ahead and get it in there. So reach out to King Comet himself, our primo Matthew, through the socials and find out a little bit more. And then he says we'll be dropping our memberships this week. So I was a little bit off. Not officially open yet, but they will be open soon. So reach out to Matthew King Comet, and he'll go ahead and let you know the score. And of course, he just dropped this logo set right here at FTCUT pod does the lettering on this one, and man, this is super fire. When I go ahead and get the expenditure permission from the Minister of Finance, that's probably
you got to get that El Escudero 96 on there, Papa.
Oh man, that's just fire. So yeah, go ahead and hit up El Primo Matthew to go ahead and get some more information on how you can become a member of Comets. And of course, a special shout out to the IEGs and Big Heck, who are going to be in lot 13. Guys, we went to one of these last year and we had an incredible time. Shout out to the IEGs for having us, and hopefully we get to go ahead and go by and say what's up on Sunday. And then, in the lead up to the match itself, there's a ton of stuff going on. So Monday to Sunday, you can go ahead and get your Galaxy coffee at Honey Greens Cafe from 8 to 6. We've already seen pictures of those coffees and what they look like, and they look delectable. On Tuesday, you can go ahead and meet Edwin Cerrillo at Classic Football Shirts from 5:30 to 7 p.m. And on Thursday, you can go ahead and meet Sean Davis and Miguel Berry at Connecta Manhattan Beach from 2 to 4. And then, of course, on Saturday, 2/22 from 2 to 4, you have the trophy making an appearance at Pele Soccer. So, guys, there's a lot of stuff going on that the Galaxy are doing in the lead up to this match. Go ahead and get out there and have some fun. And speaking of the match, man, it's here, Nanda. Finally, preseason is done. We're just a couple of days away.
Crazy.
We open it up, man. Remember last year how long it was before the first match was like 3 months. It's been. It's felt simultaneously long and
but the buildup was crazy to that one though, with Messi coming in town and all that hoopla. So I didn't go to that game, unfortunately, but man, yeah, it's a little different this year. We're coming in as champions. By the way, guys, check out our Thursday pod for sure. I know Rob's going to speak a little bit about it, and we're going to preview this match, but this is a big match too. This is a big occasion, man. It's their first inaugural match. Look, we got to defend the crown, right? And we got to defend the digs again. Man, I would love for it to be an undefeated season as well at home, but hey, you got to start somewhere. You got to start off right. So,
right. And you got to start somewhere. San Diego's first ever match, hopefully their first ever L that the Galaxy can provide. And but we'll be talking more about that match on Thursday. If you guys didn't know, you guys haven't heard us repeated a bunch of times, that game is on Sunday, February 23rd at 4 p.m. We'll be out at the digs early and hanging out. So go ahead and come find us. If you see us, come say hi. We would love to meet you. And then on Thursday, of course, we have the preview pod with Tony Sanchez from San Diego Football on 2 Balls and 1 Mic pod. So go ahead and check that one out with us. Come hang on Thursday, find out everything you need to know about San Diego. That pretty much wraps it up for us. Ananda, do you have anything else to add?
Just a little programming announcement. Alex and I are working on our next Gatácticos as we speak. So hopefully we're gonna get that recorded and dropped this week before the weekend's action. So it's gonna be a little preview about the midfield, Rob, and our overhaul in the center of the pitch. Kind of what we've talked about a little bit today. We're gonna deep dive into that a little bit. So eyes and ears, guys. Just stay tuned on our socials, man, and we'll let you know when things drop.
Y'all heard it. The next Tacticos is on the way with Profe Alex and Anandita. So watch out for that one. And yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for us. Thank you so much for being with us here today and talking about the CVI and how the Galaxy look heading into the first match of the season. Of course, if you hear it means you found us at youtube.com/@Lacuna Galaxiana. Go ahead and put someone on. Go ahead and let them know. Sub. We're just a few short subs away from 500. We are on the march to 500. Hopefully we get there before the season starts, and you guys can help us get there. Yeah, without further ado, only one thing left to say, and it's LA Strong. Vamos campeones, and G's up.